these are the ones that I'll be keeping an eye out on if Kamala wins. Industry and the sector that most people are looking out for is last time Trump was in office, there were some enormous moves in the market. Specifically right here, you had Goldman Sachs go from $179 and within just a few days, the price point was over 240 some odd bucks. And you can see this across all financials where basically when Trump got elected in the office, which remember in 2016, it was a surprise that he got elected, right? People did not expect this to happen. Everyone thought Hillary was going to win. Well, everyone was proven wrong. And subsequently since then, millions of investors poured in to stocks and sectors in general that they thought Trump was going to reinvigorate, so to speak, get rid of Dodd-Frank, loosen up financial controls, right? And we're seeing the exact same thing happen in this 2024 election, but on both sides, because Kamala Harris has certain stances that are good for certain sectors, and Trump has certain stances that are, again, good for certain sectors. And we're going to break down today what those sectors are. So first, let's talk about Kamala Harris and the sectors that people believe are going to pop because she enters into office. First thing first, renewable energy. Now, you guys may have heard of this thing called the Green New Deal. Guys, I am no political enthusiast by any stretch of the imagination. I know very, very surface level stuff about the politics. And at the end of the day, nobody actually knows what Kamala Harris's stance truly is across the board. It's a little bit all over the place. For example, she's now promoting, regional oil drilling, like oil drilling here in the U.S., which is definitely outside of what many of the ideas are in the Green New Deal. But again, I don't know the specifics. All I know is Kamala Harris, as it relates to solar and clean energy and so on and so forth, many of these stocks have already pushed a bit, but they've somewhat plateaued. Some even pulled back just a little bit in basically waiting to see what exactly happens and who they see is going to be leading the election. You'll start to see movement even a few weeks before the actual election takes place. All I know is solar stocks and clean energy stocks have already started to move. This is a CNBC article that kind of mentions that, hey, some of these companies are really pushing in hopes that Kamala starts to win. The second sector that everyone is looking at is the semiconductor sector or the microchip sector, led by NVIDIA and other companies like Broadcom. Right. And so Broadcom is one of the bigger companies that many people are looking at, because when we start getting really aggressive as it relates to the federal funding for these semiconductors, we're going to see basically what happened to Pfizer, where you basically just get this massive pop because, hey, it's a little bit of crony capitalism. They're getting funded. They're making billions of dollars in profits because of literal societal shifts, in this case, in technology. All right. And so if there becomes some sort of federal grant or some sort of federal pool of cash that becomes even more widely available, because I think there's already been certain things that have been passed in this capacity, then you're going to start to see, from a bipartisan perspective, whether Trump's elected or Harris is elected, you're going to see these stocks start to pump a little bit more. Now, obviously, these things can feel a little bit overblown at the moment. I mean, you got NVIDIA at all-time highs, and the amount of run-up that this thing has had in just the past year is absolutely incredible. December, we were trading at $15 a share, and at this moment, NVIDIA is 10x, nearly 10x at $143, right? So again, that's a scary stock to buy, so to speak. Do you wait on that? Who knows? Even when you look at companies like Broadcom here, you guys can see that this thing is, it can be, again, you're buying at a tremendous high. But again, if we can get some sort of federal funding in, you might see a high break here. And AI is not going anywhere. By all accounts, we're going to see even more cash being poured into NVIDIA, into Broadcom, for chip manufacturing, because the U.S. just absolutely dominates the semiconductor world. And of course, you got TSMC. This is a massive company, one of the founders of, really the semiconductor industry. They're over in Taiwan. They're a big player as well. And of course, again, you get a massive pop. Markets have been actually absolutely crazy on the stock side. I've been looking a lot. We focused a lot on FX, but right now, based off of the election, when we think of capital market movement, you're mostly going to see that over in the equity side of things. We can look into the currency side of things, but currencies have been a little bit stagnant. And believe it or not, currency volume is trading at an all-time low when we were hitting all-time highs for almost 8 years in a row. Since 2017, okay, we were basically making currency trading videos. And each year, especially when Trump got in office, we were seeing higher and higher volatility, it's actually turned around a bit. So we can talk about that a little bit later on, 100%. But this is a bipartisan sector that whether Trump wins or Kamala wins, we're going to see a push to the upside. The third sector people are looking out for as it relates to Kamala Harris is the house building sector, construction. There's basically a really big push potentially to do a lot of let's call it federal funded housing developments if Kamala wins. Okay. And so that is going to spur a tremendous amount of capital gains to construction companies. Okay. And there are even construction ETFs that you can keep an eye out on that may reap some of the benefits of that. So if you don't know exactly which stock to play, you can look at some of those construction ETFs. Here are a few popular ones. You got XHB. This is the biggest one. It's coming from Spider. So it's the underlying S&P Home Builder Select Industry Index. And then from there, you got iShares. You got Invesco. Shout out to Invesco. They're out there in the ATL. You got an iShare US Infrastructure ETF. These are the ones that I'll be keeping an eye out on if Kamala wins, because again, these are taking some of the largest companies in the construction business, in the home business, home buying business, even like Zillow, things like that, and kind of putting them into one index that you can trade. So that way you don't have to quote unquote stock pick, and you can ride some of these moves 100%. Now, moving into Trump, I'm excited to talk about DJT. And if you guys know anything about DJT, then, we're in for a wild ride, man, because Trump has a publicly traded stock called DJT. This was a stock that was created out of the Truth Social. And Truth Social, I think they came into market via a SPAC, a special purpose acquisition company. It's basically this really crazy convoluted way to become a publicly listed stock on a big exchange like NASDAQ or like New York City Stock Exchange without having to go through all of the paperwork. Okay, so it could be somewhat complex, but this is a weekly. And as you guys can see, a lot of people have been trading the Donald Trump stock because if Donald Trump's elected, dude has a publicly traded stock, and you're probably going to get a push to all-time highs here. So this may be an interesting play on the options side, especially if you start to see that in the run-up and when you actually start to see the polls coming out in early November, late October, we may start to see a push here on this stock. And this may, again, you may want to buy some out-of-the-money stuff, and who knows, maybe get some out of the money at the $440 level. And so I'm going to be doing a lot more research on this inside of Fundamental Strategist. If you were a part of Top Trader, make sure you guys message me, because basically we've moved over into completely analyzing fundamentals across all asset classes. And Fundamental Strategist is the new community. And so if you want to access that community and do fundamental research throughout the week, especially leading up to election, click the link in the bio. It'll be right there for you to apply and register. Okay, so Trump's first big sector, we got to look into the automotive. Look what's happening right now with Elon and Trump. Many people are paying attention to the automotive sector because Trump may come in with some pretty powerful policy decisions that strengthen the companies that are building cars and vehicles here in the U.S. So this is something that you want to keep an eye out on. Secondly, fossil fuels. We know Trump loves fossil fuels. Drill, baby, drill. All right. And so, of course, these always seem to pop when Trump starts to get into his presidential run. So this is something you got to look out for. But the icing on the cake, the industry and the sector that most people are looking out for is the financials. Reuters put out an article basically saying, I'm going to free the financial industry from the binds put on by the Obama administration and even the Biden administration, right? Trump was running very hard in 2016 on getting rid of Dodd-Frank, which was a regulation that basically protected consumers from investment banks trading their capital as prop firms, right? You guys can look a little bit more into that. I'll put some stuff down below. But yeah, Trump is continuing with this idea that the financial organizations are going to be able to do more lending. They're going to be able to open up more revenue streams, meaning they're going to be able to create new financial products. This is what he's running on. And the same reason we saw that pop in 2016 is the same reason why many market participants right now are waiting. Let's go take a look at Goldman Sachs. Today, many market participants are hoping, all right? You see financials pushing right now because if Donald Trump wins, again, the perceived idea that he's going to do a lot for them is causing these things to run to the moon. So I wanted to just bring some sense to the overall capital market infrastructure, specifically on the equity side, based off of this current election. Again, Kamala has certain stances, Trump has certain stances, and these are going to dictate, and these stances, so again, Kamala has certain stances, Trump has certain stances, and these stances create a reality, and they start to put things in messages in people's minds that tell them, hey, this is what we should be looking for. This is what we should be looking for. I would more than likely start to play DJT. Let's talk about that inside of Fundamental Strategist, but also bipartisan sectors, semiconductor sectors. That sector is going to win. It's going to continue to win. And AI is just the biggest, most transformative thing ever to happen in the world. And so if we get a federal, I guess, pool of cash to really strengthen our AI development, with companies like Broadcom, with companies like NVIDIA, then you're going to start to see these stocks pop even more because, again, now they're getting federally funded, right? And I know that there's been a couple of things that have opened up in that capacity through the Biden administration, but apparently we're going to see tens of more billions of dollars put into these different companies in this particular sector. So let me know what you guys think. Is there something that you're paying attention to? DJT is the most exciting and most easiest play because if Trump wins, that thing's going to freaking rock to the moon. It actually got halted a few weeks ago because it's just such a wild stock. The fact that the president has a stock with his initials. So let me know what you guys think. This is really exciting. Check out Fundamental Strategist. It's so exciting to be talking about more markets than just FX. We will be going into FX throughout this entire presidential run because there will be some movement on the dollar. But as of right now, we're not seeing much volume. And remember, as somebody trading in capital markets, you need to go where there is volume, where there is opportunity. All right, so that's where we're going to be focusing. If you guys got any questions for me, let me know. If you're a top trader and you want to get inside of the Fundamental Strategist, apply, and I'll automatically throw you in there. Let's talk soon. Peace out.